Hello, today is the 21st of June 2025. I am very excited to make this video because something quite dramatic happened, but I can thankfully laugh about it in between, and other times it kind of like shocks me a bit. Right now I'm in a better mood and I'll get to that, but yesterday and the day before was a bit more difficult. Yeah, oh my gosh, where to begin? Basically, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna, get everything onto this video that I want to talk about. Like, I made mental notes the past few days about, things I want to mention in videos or things that helped me and I learned. But I feel like, oh my god, my mind is fuller at the moment, so I don't know if I can really remember everything. But I'm gonna get straight into it. The main thing and the dramatic thing that happened was basically me and my friend Mario here from Spain had our first official argument. Yeah. It started off with the last video that I made a couple days ago. Right after that, he texted me. Yeah, he said that he was gone for the whole weekend and I am leaving basically for Ireland in the next few days. So I was then like, we won't be able to see each other anymore. So you're leaving and you never told me about this. Like, you're gone for the weekend, which means we can't say goodbye. We're not gonna see each other anymore. And I felt like, oh great, so it's not important for him to see me again. It's not important for him to say goodbye to me properly. I immediately felt like, wow, that just shows like how little I mean to him, or how unimportant I am to him, and how he prioritizes other things. Like, those were some thoughts in my head, which obviously aren't true. He's told me so many times how much he appreciates me, and I know that for some people it's important to say goodbye, for others it's not, and it doesn't mean that I'm not important to him just because he doesn't think it's important to say goodbye. Things like that, everyone is a bit different. But the main thing that was in my head in that moment when I was texting with him was that I was basically really annoyed because things like this, like situations like these, happened so many times already, where he basically said we were going to see each other again, or we're going to meet up and we're going to do something, and then he like cancels the plans, or he moves them to a different day, or he has very little time, or plans other stuff instead of keeping some time free to meet me as well. And I know obviously I can't expect that from him, and I don't want to expect that from him, but I would wish that he would want to meet me. That's what felt just painful. Yeah, I just wished he would want to meet me. I wished he would want to say goodbye to me. I wished that was important to him. I wished that I was a closer friend to him, that we would think it's important. And I don't know, like my mind went on to being very dramatic and catastrophic, but I felt really annoyed, and I also like kind of teared up a bit because I was just really upset. I was just like, it really upset me, and it annoyed me because this happened so many times already. And usually I would be like, oh okay, or like, yeah, can we meet a different time then, or like, I would not really say that it annoyed me, and usually it didn't annoy me as much, but because it happened so many times already, and because now I'm going back to Ireland and I don't know when I'm going to be back in Spain, so I don't know when I'm going to see him again, it really annoyed me that he didn't mention he was going to be gone. And the thing is, the day before, he had said to me and my mom that we're going to see each other again before we leave for Ireland, and he knew he was going to go on that trip, so he wasn't thinking clearly. It came out, he just wasn't thinking clearly. But that's always the thing, like, he doesn't plan time properly. Like, isn't great at managing time and how long you need for certain things, and that, you know, he's going to be gone from then to then, and we're going to be flying out that day when he comes back, so we won't see each other. Anyway, so that annoyed me as well so much, because the day before he had said we're gonna see each other again, and he had never mentioned to me that he was leaving for the weekend and stuff, and he thought though that he had mentioned it to me. So it was a miscommunication and stuff, and basically, you know, that was the solution for that problem, or for that situation. The answer was basically that he thought I knew, but I didn't. Basically though, I for a few seconds just put down my phone then, and I was kind of like thinking about what I should do, if I should calm myself down first and just take some time and relax, and then tell him like, look, I don't like this, I don't like when this happens, you know. I knew that if I would, you know, wait until I'm more settled and relaxed, that then I would find the right words and kinder words and gentler words to say to him, you know, I don't like when things like these happen, and it happened a lot now already, so could he just maybe be more clear with his words and not say things that in the end are not going to happen, or just tell me we're going to meet up when he knows for sure he has time, or at least tell me he doesn't know if we're going to be able to meet up, or tell me, you know, he has other plans. Like, he can just be more clear so that I'm not expecting something, you know. And like, when he tells me we're gonna see each other, then obviously I'm gonna think we're gonna see each other, but we weren't. So anyway, I was deciding then, okay, you know, I know that if I would text him now in this state, I would probably come across as more, you know, rude and unkind, whereas if I'd wait a bit, it would be gentler and kinder. But in that moment, I was just like, no, honestly, I don't want to wait right now, and if I come across a bit rude, that's fine, because this happened so many times, and I want him to know that this is so annoying, and I don't want that to happen anymore. And I think it's rude. I just thought it was rude what happened there, and whenever things like these happen, I think it's rude when you don't let the other person know, you know, who's thinking we have plans together, we're gonna meet up, and you're not letting them know that you actually can't. Like, in my opinion, that's rude. And just telling them 5 minutes before, like, oh, I can't, or it's gonna be a different day, or I only can meet for an hour or something. I think personally that that's just not fair for the other person. I think it's quite selfish as well, because basically he was only really thinking about what he wanted and what was important to him, instead of thinking about, you know, maybe it's important for me to say goodbye, or things like that. You know, he often doesn't really think about what I might want or how I might be feeling in relation to that, when he just cancels plans or just makes other plans and doesn't, you know, keep that time to meet me or something. Yeah, so I don't know, but I did text him basically, and it took me a while because I didn't want to come across as like really rude. I didn't want to just blurt out what I was really thinking. So it took me a while to like find the right words, until I was like, okay, I'm gonna send this off, even though it wasn't the friend list, but I was like, you know, that's okay. I know he can handle it. I know that like our friendship isn't at that stage where, you know, we can talk to each other like that as well sometimes. And I was just like, you know, I'm really annoyed, so I'm allowed to say, you know, how I feel as well. So yeah, I sent him a longer message basically saying what I just said here, that I think it's very annoying and quite rude, and that this happened many times before, and I just feel like that he's just kind of, whenever he makes other plans, that he's just kind of pushing me aside, because oftentimes he said we're gonna meet or something, and then he made other plans then and said to me we can't anymore. So I just feel like whenever something better, you know, comes into his life, he just kind of pushes me aside then, you know, in relation to making plans together, or he kind of just fills me in the gaps and doesn't really make extra like he doesn't really extra plan some time to meet me, but he's just kind of like, okay, I'll see where I have time to meet Leona, and if those gaps are filled, then I can't meet her, or if there is some gaps, then I'll meet her then. It kind of feels like that, even though it's not always true. Oftentimes he also did specifically make time for me and spend that time with me and things like that. But a lot of the time as well, he just kind of thought like, okay, where are some gaps where I could meet her, or when other plans, happened, or if other plans were a better option to him, then he would just choose that, even though he had said to me we could probably meet. So yeah, I don't know, I think his side and my side are very understandable. I think that there's going to be people out there who completely agree with him and other people who completely agree with me or see both sides. And that's okay, that's completely fine. Everyone is different. After I sent him that text as well, like, I think we texted a bit, but then at some point I just put down my phone because I was like, I really don't want to like hear anything else anymore. I just need some time right now to calm down and not make this a bigger deal. So then for a while I put down my phone, but as soon as I picked it up again, I saw I had like 5 or 6 missed calls from him. Because he was, he was gonna go to work soon and he didn't have time to talk to me then anymore. But he had asked if we could call and I didn't see that message because I didn't look at my phone. Yeah, we did call then for like 2 minutes, and basically he was just talking the whole time. He was just saying like, yeah, I didn't really like reading that you were annoyed, and that's just what I do, and to me it's not that important to say goodbye. And I was then like feeling like, oh wow, so that's how little I mean to you or whatever. And I know that's not the right way of thinking about it either, and I was in a very catastrophic state. Like, I was very much making it more dramatic than it needed to be, for sure. And it all comes down to, my self-esteem again, thinking I'm not good enough, people don't like me, or don't like me as much as I'd like them to like me. Or, it comes down to my low self-esteem again, for sure. And that's why this was a drama. Otherwise, I wouldn't have reacted that way. Otherwise, this drama wouldn't have happened if I had high self-esteem. But anyway, I said like 1 or 2 sentences on the phone, but I couldn't finish because I started like crying in between, and like he didn't necessarily notice, but like I just couldn't say anything without starting to cry. Like, that's this sort of headspace I was in, and I don't know, I just currently feel quite mentally tired as well, like especially when I have these days where I feel more depressed or I'm thinking more negatively, I do feel quite tired at the same time. So it feels exhausting to talk or to explain myself. I just like, please just understand me without me having to say any words. Like, I just wish that would work sometimes. But yeah, really, no matter when I started talking, I just couldn't finish. Like, I just had to cry. And we came off the call, and basically, nothing was better. I sat there and cried like the whole time. Like, I just sat there and cried for another couple of minutes, and then I thought in a very negative and catastrophic way about things, even though I was also like, look, it's only the way I'm thinking right now. Sometimes things like this happen in life, and then it feels not very nice for a while, but it's gonna be fine as well, and things like that. So I wasn't like completely negative, but I for sure didn't feel great. And he had said then that we could meet that evening, but I wanted to think about it because I was like, of course I want to meet him because I want to say goodbye to him and I like meeting him. But I was also like, I don't want to meet him when he's just doing that now because he's I don't know, feeling sorry for me or feeling bad because we're not saying goodbye. I was like, yeah, I don't really know if I want to meet him either, because like I didn't like how the situation played out, things like that. But yeah, yeah, we did end up meeting. But before that, I was talking to my sister Alana, and then Mom as well had said like one or two things to me, but that didn't really help me very much. Like, she said, for example, like, yeah, you know, he doesn't owe you anything. And I think maybe she was trying to help me, but that didn't help me. That just made me feel like I'm being completely dramatic and I'm expecting too much from him, and I shouldn't, you know, tell him that something annoyed me, or, you know, yeah, I don't know what she was trying to say exactly with that sentence, but it didn't help me in that moment. Being told like, yeah, you know, he doesn't owe you anything. It's like, okay. And it's not like, I know he doesn't owe me anything. Of course he doesn't. But we're friends, and if something annoys me or if I think something's quite unfair, then of course I'm allowed to say that. It doesn't mean I'm expecting something, like, it doesn't, okay, anyway. I spoke to Alana, and what was nice about speaking to her was that she really understood where I was coming from. She really saw and knew what it felt like. She said to me, like, of course, just because he doesn't want to say goodbye, or, you know, didn't plan on saying goodbye, doesn't mean that he doesn't appreciate me or he doesn't like me. She assured me that it doesn't mean that I'm an unlikable person. And she went on to saying, like, anyone is lucky to be your friend. And if I weren't your sister, you would be my best friend, because you are the most honest and truthful person that I have ever met and that I know. And I think she said something like, if people can't see that, then they're stupid or it's their loss or something. But she was just like complimenting me so much, and really really genuinely saying, like, kind of, you're the best friend anyone could wish for, and you're so truthful and honest. And it was so nice. Like, I sobbed. I was just crying when she said that, because that's literally what I wish for. Like, I wish that people could see me that way. Like, I want to be like that for people. Yeah, and I have to say, when I look at myself from like a different perspective and look at myself with Mario, for example, and our friendship, like, I am so truthful and so honest always. Like, I'm not playing tricks, I'm not pretending, I'm not being something that I'm not. I'm really like genuine in the relationship. I always wanted to be like that as well, and I for me that's so important. For me, that's what makes a true friendship, when you can be and are so open and honest, and really vulnerable as well, and genuine, and things like that. That's what make true relationships happen. And I just loved how my sister saw me that way, and how she said that, like, it meant so much, and she just completely understood that feeling of, like, just, you know, wishing people could see me and wishing that they would want me to be around and they appreciate me. And yeah, so I loved speaking to her, and it helped so much, and I felt a lot better afterwards. And then while I was driving to Mario's, I was listening to music in the car, and I actually noticed how I was like smiling, because I was actually telling myself, like, I'm fine, everything's fine, everything's gonna be fine, I will be fine. And I was just listening to the music, and I was actually enjoying it, and I was driving, along, you know, the road, and I love driving. I really love driving and listening to music and like just being there in my own like car and stuff, and just, I don't know, I just really enjoyed that moment. And yeah, I was just like, you know, I'm fine right now, I'm fine. And I could really feel like, you know, I was fine, even though I knew like there was still something going on. Obviously there was still like some sort of drama happening, but in that moment I just knew like I was fine. But yeah, so I went to his work basically, and we talked for like an hour and a half to 2 hours or something, but we didn't really get anywhere. We were kind of talking in circles. He, even though he said he can see my side, he couldn't really see my side. He more agreed with his own side, that it's like completely fine and normal to, yeah, not say what your plans are, or to cancel plans, or to, you know, anyway, like we didn't really get very far. What we did say is that from now on I'm going to ask, for example, like, can, you know, if we are meeting at 6 p.m. for example, how long are you gonna stay, or do you have any other plans that evening, so that I know kind of, okay, we only have 1 or 2 hours together. So from now on I'm gonna ask him how much time he thinks we'll have together, and at the same time I'm gonna try to be more flexible and not expect things to happen. And what he's gonna try and do is to be more clear with his words, basically. Yeah, and to tell me like when he has other plans and he can only meet me for an hour or something, or to not say, to just be more clear with his words, to not say we can meet when he doesn't know. So instead say like, I'm not too sure, we could probably meet then and then, but don't expect that it will work out. Like, just be more clear with his words. I think that's what we ended up agreeing on, that both of us kind of need to work on that, which is like good and fine, but both of us at the end definitely still didn't feel good. Like, he very much wanted to go home. In the end he was like, yeah, I just don't feel good right now, and stuff like that. Like, I think both of us kind of knew we were gonna be fine, but we both just didn't feel that great. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a massive drama, but it was a bigger drama than, you know, we had ever had before between us. So in between, like, we always laughed as well, and being like, just laughing at how ridiculous this is. And in between, we made jokes, but not a lot, obviously. And we were more like, I don't know if I would say arguing, because we didn't have like really raised voices, but we like spoke over each other as well. We didn't fully want to listen to each other's side. We interrupted each other. We were just annoyed, and, you know, things like that. So we were definitely were debating. I don't know if I would call that an argument, but maybe. So some things I didn't like, for example, was that he often, like very often, interrupted me when I was speaking, and then he would just speak. And he was speaking a lot, and I never actually got to really explain what my problem was or what I was feeling, because he either always interrupted me or he was the one speaking the whole time. So I didn't really like that, and a lot of the things he did reminded me of when me and my parents used to fight, which is not a very nice reminder. So I was like, wow, I'm like seeing a very different side of him that I've never seen like this before. He also said a lot of very dramatic things, like, yeah, if you don't want to be friends anymore, then that's your decision and stuff. I was like, what the heck are you talking about? I'm not even saying anything about not wanting to be friends anymore. It's just something that I don't like about you, and I'm sure there's something you don't like about me either. He was like, yeah. Like, so dramatic sometimes. And I don't know, like something him and I said a lot of the time was like, oh, don't speak about that again, don't mention that again. Like, both of us were like so annoyed because we felt like each one of us was constantly going back to the same point. But I think from my side, I kept going back to a certain point because I never felt like I really got to the actual point, because he kept interrupting me and he kept explaining the same thing again and again. Like, you know, he kept explaining how, yeah, well, today's problem was a miscommunication. I thought you knew I was leaving for the weekend. He kept saying that, and I was like, yeah, I know, okay, we solved the problem of today, but what about all the times it happened in the past? And I'm speaking about this now because I don't want this to happen in the future again, and because it's very annoying and things like that. And yeah, I said to him, when I said as well, this happens a lot of times already, he was like, don't say that. It didn't. It happened like 2 or 3 times. I was like, girl, yeah, because you don't realize when it happens, but I do. I said as well, like, yeah, I think it's quite rude when you don't let a person know what your plans are, or if we have plans to meet, for example, we say we're meeting Friday evening. I'm obviously thinking, okay, we're meeting Friday evening, so we're gonna have the evening together. I'm not thinking, oh yeah, maybe in an hour he has other plans, so we only have an hour together, so let's see what we can do in that hour. Obviously, I'm not thinking that way if I don't know he has other plans. But he thinks that it's like not rude, or that's completely normal to not tell the person that you have plans with on Friday evening that you also have other plans on Friday evening, so you need to be gone by X time. And I just said, like, yeah, I think that's quite rude, and that's just not fair for the other person. Like, you need to think about the other person as well, not just about what you want or what you think is right. And whenever I said things like, yeah, that's annoying, or that's rude, or that's not very nice, he was like, stop saying that, stop saying it's not very nice, stop. Like, I think he didn't want to be seen as, yeah, a not very nice person or whatever, even though he said, yeah, I know some things I do aren't very nice and things like that. And in the end, he said as well, like, yeah, this, I guess, isn't very nice, you know, the way he's acting in that sense and stuff. And then he said, which was also so dramatic, he was like, okay, so whenever I said, like, I really appreciate you, or I love you as a friend, and all those moments, like, do you just not hear that? Do you not listen to that? Do they not matter to you? I said, yeah, of course they matter. Of course I appreciate them. He was like, no, but you obviously don't believe them. I was like, yes, of course I do. Of course I believe them. And then he was like, yeah, but why aren't you talking about that now? Why are you so focused on the negative things? I was like, why would I talk about something positive right now when we're talking about a problem? Like, that would make no sense for me to be like, oh yeah, I appreciate that so much, but this is the problem. So what? And when he said, yeah, that he does appreciate me and that he loves me, and I was like, yeah, but you say that to so many people, or you mean that, I don't know, I said something about, yeah, but I just feel like I'm just another one of those people that you like so much. And he was like, yeah, well, I do love a lot of people, and you're not the only one I love. I was like, okay. And he said, yeah, but you are one of them. You are one of the people I love. So yeah, that just showed me, okay, I need to learn, yeah, I'm not the only one that he loves, or other people. I'm not gonna be the only one someone, loves. And I need to see that that doesn't make me less worthy. It doesn't mean I'm not special. It doesn't mean, I'm just another one of them, or like, making myself feel little or small. I need to see that that's special too. I am someone that he appreciates. I am someone he loves. Something I need to learn. that it doesn't mean I'm not special just because he loves other people too. And at some point he was like doubting something about him. At some point he mentioned something about him and how friendly or not friendly he is, like in relation to that. And he was kind of saying something again in a dramatic and negative way. And I was like, no, wait, like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're unfriendly or I don't want to be friends with you anymore, for example. Like, you are one of the friendliest people. And just because I'm focusing on something right now that I don't like about you doesn't mean that in your entirety I don't like you. No, it just means there's this one thing, but you are the friendliest, one of the friendliest people I know. And like, I just needed to show him again because he was being so dramatic again. I was like, girl, I don't know. I feel like both of us could have definitely handled the whole thing better. Me included, absolutely. I knew I was being dramatic. I knew I was catastrophizing. I'm sure there is some things that I said to him as well where he probably thought, wow, she's so dramatic or whatever. Like, that's normal in arguments. I'm absolutely not saying he's the one who was wrong in that situation. I know from my side as well, you know, both of us could have been absolutely better, but also from my side, I was okay with arguing as well. Like, for me, that wasn't such a big deal. Like, for me, it was just like, yeah, a small argument, whatever. But to him, he said, like, to him, this is not very common. He doesn't usually argue with people. He doesn't usually have problems like these in friendships. Like, to him, this was really an unusual situation, and he said that from himself. Like, he said, yeah, this is very unusual for me, like, it's not very normal. And then I said as a joke, yeah, well, this can happen a few more times with me. And then we both kind of laughed. Yeah, to me, it's like normal. And to me, which I said to him as well, arguments like these usually, you know, if people go at them in a good way, I guess, is that arguments like these just strengthen friendships. If they don't break them apart, they strengthen friendships because you get to know the person more, and you see, like, if you are able to argue with someone, like in my life anyway, the fact that I was able to argue with him showed we're already close friends, because like a couple months ago, there's no way we would have argued because we weren't that close, you know. And I would never argue with someone that I'm not close with. So it shows me we're just actually close. And now we know each other so well that we're also seeing the not so great peachy side of each other. Yeah, it was honestly like fine. Yeah. We both, like I said, didn't feel great still in the end, and I feel like we didn't really solve a lot of things. We just kind of made it more dramatic. But in the end, like I said, he kind of wanted to leave, so we hugged and we said goodbye. And then I drove home and I was crying the whole way home. Also knowing like I will be fine and stuff, but definitely also feeling that this was made very dramatic. Like, I did feel like this was a dramatic thing, which I also knew it didn't need to be, but it kind of felt that way. But yeah, I arrived home and my mom was in the living room, and then she saw me. She just asked if everything was okay and stuff, and I just kind of said, like, I don't really want to talk right now because I'm in a very dramatic headspace, and that would just make it more dramatic if I were to talk more about it. So she asked if she should just give me a hug, and then I cried in her arms for a while. And I was just like, this is kind of like a movie. Like, you're coming home from an argument with your friend, and then you're just crying your eyes out on the shoulder of your mom. Like, it was such a movie sort of scenario. And my mind was definitely for sure, like, I was definitely for sure thinking in a dramatic way, because I was also like, does he still want to be friends with me? Like, are we not going to be friends anymore? Because I never saw him as annoyed or pissed off as that day. Like, he really, like other times, he would usually laugh about it or definitely not act the way he did. So it was so weird to me to see like how annoyed he was. Because he really usually is not a very dramatic person. He usually doesn't make a problem out of things. He usually doesn't make things worse. But in that situation, both of us were annoyed. So it probably wasn't the best time to talk. We should have probably just left that aside for a while and talked about it at a different time when we were both in a better headspace, and instead just kind of enjoy the time we had together. That's probably what we can do next time. But yeah, I definitely in the past few days then, up until this morning, was kind of wondering, like, is our friendship still gonna be there? Or does he not want to be friends anymore? Yeah, so I was definitely a bit afraid of that, but I would say I didn't beat myself up as much as I probably would have in the past. Like, I didn't really say to myself, oh, why were you so dramatic? Like, why did you have to do that? Like, you probably ruined the friendship now. He doesn't like you anymore because you're just so unlikable. I don't think I really thought about that much, but nevertheless, there was definitely a part of me that was thinking negatively about the whole situation, but then another part of me was actually thinking in a very positive way about the whole situation. And that evening as well, when I came home, I just laid on the couch with Mom and just watched something nice and really just relaxed and cried. Like, I just needed that, I think, that moment of just like, oh my God, just cry about everything and just be there. The next day then, like the next morning, well, throughout the whole night, I was like, my mind was very full. I could feel like my mind was so full. And it was kind of a bit scary for me because it really reminded me of my depression when my mind was so full and I just felt mentally so exhausted. And I just felt like, oh my God, this is such a dramatic thing in my life and this is such a big problem that I need to deal with and I need to live with. And it didn't feel like I was free. It really felt like I had a big problem. And yeah, that's what it was like in my depression. But now it just kind of reminded me of that because my mind was very full. Whenever I woke up during the night, I immediately thought about that situation with him. And I was just like, oh my God, like, you know, is this another sign that I'm becoming depressed or something? I was thinking in a very kind of depressive way the past few days, and in some ways I learned from it, and in some ways I'm getting better. But in other ways it's kind of like, yeah, scary because I obviously don't want to become depressed, and I don't fully know if I can stop myself from becoming depressed. I don't know, like that situation just reminded me of my depression. I was like, oh my God, like, am I going to lose him? Is this going to be a huge dramatic thing between us? Will I feel really powerless? Will I feel like I lost my friend and like my life is really bad and this is such a big drama and stuff like that? Obviously, I was very much in a catastrophic, in the catastrophic thinking style. Okay, I changed location because it was getting too hot in my room. But yeah, so the next morning when I woke up and I was obviously still feeling like it was kind of a dramatic thing, I just texted him kind of saying, I hope I didn't hurt you, and from my side, like, it's okay if we argue sometimes. We don't always need to like each other, but I hope like he still wants to be friends, and yeah, I do wish him a nice weekend. And he just said, yeah, he's fine and everything will be fine, no worries, things like that. But yeah, he definitely was acting different than he usually would be acting. then I would say like I honestly felt like fine that day. I think I'd say in between I kept kind of thinking about this, but there was one moment then that evening, so later that day, where I was sitting outside and I was working on the Thrive program, I think. And then I was again feeling like, oh, this is kind of dramatic and whatever, like, I don't know, my mind. And it wasn't just this argument with him that I was then thinking about in a dramatic way. I was then looking at my whole life, my whole reality, and I was like, oh my God, everything's so negative, and what if it turns out to be really horrible and I'm going to be depressed and things like that. Like, I was really thinking about everything then in a negative and catastrophic way. So I had that moment then that day, but then I just put down everything that I was doing and I just sat in silence on the roof terrace and looked at the swallows that were flying around. There was so many flying around, and in that moment I just noticed how peaceful like my world was in that moment, how there was no problems in that moment, how there was these beautiful free swallows flying around and how they were like gliding through the air. It was just so magical, and like I just had a moment then where I felt so free, like as free as that bird who was just like flying around and no problems, no worries, no nothing. So I had that moment, and that's when I then realized, okay, look, there's, you know, the argument and the situation felt very dramatic and stuff, but what's really important? Like, what's, you know, none of that is actually so important. Like, none of that drama really matters. And in that moment, I realized the only thing that really matters is that I love him, you know, and not like in a relationship sort of way, but as a friend. Like, I just love him so much, and that's the only thing that really matters. Nothing else matters as much as that. And I just could see again then how much I appreciate it and how much I appreciate our friendship and everything we've experienced together, and how much, you know, our friendship means to me. And yeah, that's something actually I also mentioned when we were talking, like at the beginning, when I went to his work and we started talking, basically pretty much near the beginning, I just said like, yeah, you don't really know what this feels like for me because you have so many friends and I don't. And so it means a lot to me when friends want to meet up with me or people want to spend time with me. And when I said that, like as soon as I said like, you've so many friends and I don't, that's when I like teared up and I like started kind of stuttering, and I had to like hold back my tears when I was then speaking, and I actually couldn't really continue speaking because I was just about to burst into tears. And he said in that moment that he does get it, like he gets it and stuff, but you can't. Like, if you had friends your entire life and you never felt so alone, then you just can't understand how much it means to have people that you genuinely love, people that you really want to be around. Like, you can't understand that if you haven't experienced it before. So I don't know if he has maybe ever experienced like deep loneliness, but I don't think he has. And he always had people around him his entire life. He always had friends, so he can't understand where I'm coming from and how much it means. But he also doesn't have to, and that's okay. But yeah, that's another thing I wanted to say. That evening, after a while, after I experienced that moment and felt felt much better than actually noticing like none of that drama actually matters. All that matters is that I love him and I appreciate him and I love that I have him in my life. So then after a while, after I finished experiencing that moment, I thought it was important for me to tell him that, just to text him like, basically, I just noticed like, you know, I love you and I wanted you to know because nothing else matters as much as that does. So he said, thanks for this message, happy to have you around, is basically what he said. And I for sure noticed like, okay, he's not over it yet, I'd say. And I wasn't over it yet either, and I didn't really expect any certain reply from him. I just knew it was important for me to say that to him, and I wanted to, so that's all that mattered in that moment. But yeah, basically after that we didn't text anymore. So yesterday, the whole day, we didn't text, and this argument happened 3 days ago. Yesterday we didn't text at all, and yesterday I would say like I wasn't feeling the best, and it got worse throughout the day. I would say like the morning was honestly fine because I was busy. Like my mom had a job interview here and I joined her, and yeah, we were busy with that, and I actually really enjoyed that because the people were so nice. I love nice people. I just love nice people. And driving and stuff, I really just enjoy that. So I just enjoyed driving. And then after, when we came home again, I had an appointment with one of the producers again, and we talked about the agreement and things like that. And the call was honestly very nice. Like during the call, I was also processing, look, I'm doing good, everything's okay, I'm feeling fine. And I was honestly like really relaxed as well, and not feeling stiff or not feeling like really nervous, not being scared about what I was saying or anything. I was really talking very relaxed and not judging myself for any mistakes or not being like hyper vigilant about anything. And yeah, like super relaxed, and I loved that I could be so free, and noticing as well, technically they are working for me because this is my project and I'm the one who wants to bring it out into the world. So they're working for me technically, so I'm not technically working for them. We're also working for myself. Yeah, but anyways, after that, then again I had some thoughts. Oh my gosh, I'm like actually, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to speak because I was still in that dramatic headspace for the past few days, and talking so much, like I mentioned in this video as well, is just exhausting to me. And oh my God, I just already feel quite mentally tired. So it's a bit difficult to speak, and I don't know if I'm getting everything on this video. I feel like there's so much more I want to say, so many more important things, but okay. Just relax, not everything needs to be on this video. Keep talking, it's just meant to help you. This is supposed to be a help, so there's no stress, it's all okay. Okay. After that, after a while, I returned to negative thinking. I mean, I never really fully stopped it in the past few days, but sometimes it's just not as strong, and other times it's much stronger. So after the call, you know, after a while, after an hour or two, I returned to negative thinking, being like, I just don't want to feel pressurized to do something. That's always what I'm afraid of. And I spoke with mom about this as well, and she was like, yeah, it's completely understandable. Because in your school time, you felt like you were incapable of continuing to go to school, but you still had to. Like, for a while. Your parents and, still made you go to school. And even when I was a child, I always had to go to kindergarten, even though I was crying the whole time and just wanted to go home. So I definitely experienced some trauma with feeling like I need to do something that I feel like I can't do. And then also thinking I have to, like making myself, telling myself like I have to be able to do this, I have to go and do it, I should be able to do it. So now whenever I start any job, whenever there's any contracts near me, I'm always really afraid of feeling like I have to do something that I don't want to do or that I feel like I can't do. And Mom pointed out as well, that just shows like it's not about the job, it's not about the contract, it's not about the people, it's not about anything like that. It's about my own inner feeling of needing to do something that I feel like I can't do. And telling myself, but I should be able to, and I have to, and I need to go and do this. And that basically the pressure I feel and the fear I feel in relation to commitment basically can be resolved when I stop putting pressure on myself. Being like, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. That's the good thing about being an adult as well, I guess. I can choose for myself. It's not my parents who are choosing for me anymore. It's me. And oh my God. And I guess I learned to always put pressure on myself. I learned that I should be able to handle things. And I guess I felt like I was a failure if I wasn't able to do something, if I wasn't able to handle it. And I've been putting so much pressure on myself always throughout my life, and especially the past few weeks, and that's why I haven't been doing great. And it scares me. I know it's just a phase. I know I don't always feel this way. I know I don't always view my world this way. I know I'm not always doing bad. I know it's just a phase. I know it's just the way I'm seeing reality right now through the way I am thinking, because of the pressure I'm putting on myself, because I'm telling myself I should be doing things instead of just being good enough the way I am. And when Mom was explaining to me that I will stop feeling like I have to do things that I can't handle once I stop putting pressure on myself, when she explained that, I could feel that potential of not forcing myself to do things, just being okay with myself, not telling myself what I should be or how I should be. And I could feel then that any sort of pressure just fell off of me and falls off of me. Like, even if someone in my job would say, okay, you need to have this done by then, if I don't put that pressure on myself and I'm like, no, I don't, or yeah, I can have it done by then because I can do that, like whichever way, the way I respond to it is in my control. So even if there is a deadline, even if there is pressure on me, I can decide how I react to it. And if I stop telling myself I have to do certain things, I will stop feeling that pressure and then stop believing as well that I can't do certain things. Because whenever I tell myself I should do something, it feels like I can't do it. It feels like I should do it because I'm not able to or something. Like, I don't know, like those things are linked for sure. And so that's why whenever I strongly tell myself to do something, that's why I often feel trapped and incapable then. I feel like I can't help myself. And that's why the past few weeks I've been feeling more down, because I've been telling myself I should do certain things. And there's like so many thoughts in the past while in my mind about depression and about suicide, and I'm like, why is that there? I don't want that. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to commit suicide. I don't want to feel like I want to commit suicide. I don't want any of that. But in the past while, that's been in my mind more. And then yeah, obviously there's certain things I can do to stop that, but a part of me just kind of doubts it. Part of me is just like, yeah, but maybe I still will fall depressed even if I try certain things and stuff. Maybe I still will be as bad as I once was. But I know if I truly were to live what the Thrive program is teaching, then I wouldn't fall depressed. It's not possible to then fall depressed. If you're being kind to yourself all the time, if you're focusing on and processing all the positives in your life and in your day and all the achievements you made, if you're not thinking in a catastrophic way, and if you're not thinking in a negative way, if you're using kind and gentle and understanding language, if you're guiding your way through anxiety and stress by using different techniques. There's a technique called the dream technique, where you notice the unhelpful thought or feeling. Then first of all, you praise yourself for having noticed it, because now you can help yourself. Then you escape, basically. You for a while, for even just a few seconds, you change your situation as much as you can. So if you're sitting on a chair, you go up for a walk, or you sit on a different chair, or you grab some water. Or if you're watching TV, you turn off the TV and instead put on some music or something. You do something to escape the situation where the negative thought or feeling arose. And then you basically change it to a more positive and helpful one. And then you magnify all of that. So you really visualize yourself feeling positive. You visualize yourself living the fullest life, and whatever the negative thought was, you're going to do the opposite basically, and fully visualize that, fully feel it. That's like the dream technique, and that can help you through any negative thoughts or feelings. Like if I were to do that, and if I were to take on challenges and go out and then process how I am capable and I'm able to do this, and things where I thought, I'm not fully able to, or where I thought it was a bit challenging, and then proving to myself I completely mastered that, or I did it and I took it into my own hands and things like that. Like if I were to live that way, there's no way I could fall depressed. I fall depressed when I catastrophize, when I think negatively, when I beat myself up, when I feel and believe that I can't do anything, that I'm powerless, basically. That's when I fall depressed. So do the opposite, and you cannot fall depressed. And I also keep reminding myself of how the way I'm experiencing reality is not reality. I'm looking at my life through lenses, through the way I'm thinking right now, which is in a negative way, in a catastrophic way. And that's why I'm experiencing my life that way, but that's not the truth. Seeing how I'm really just not seeing the truth right now. I'm reminding myself all of this is just a phase, and I went through so many things already in my life, and I made it out of every single one of them. And that's something I really had to notice as well in the past few days, which Mom pointed out to me as well, is Leona, like, you keep saying you're incapable, or you feel like you can't do anything about it, or you can't help yourself. Can you please look at your entire life and see how you made it out of everything that you went through because you guided your way through, because you found a way, even if it took a week, a month, a year, 3 years, you found a way to get yourself out of it. And now how I get myself out is so much faster. Like, I usually don't spend more than maybe 2 or 3 weeks in something, and that's already, longer. That would be a more dramatic thing then. But like, I don't know, like, that doesn't even matter. The thing is that matters is I always found a way. I always got myself out of it. I always got myself feeling better. And in that moment, my self-esteem, like, was so high, and I felt so good then. I was like, oh my God, I am so capable. I am so strong. I literally made it out of everything because I found a way, and I never gave up. And another 1 or 2 tips mom gave me was also what Rob Kelly, the creator of the Thrive program, said on a call, because Rob Kelly had a call with my dad as well, and basically he said, number 1, stop trying so hard. And stop trying so hard in relation to the fact that for example, I always try to improve myself. I always try to change myself in some sort of way so that I can be better and grow more and be stronger and manage things and stuff. But that's putting a lot of pressure on myself as well. Instead of just being like, I am good the way I am and I don't need to be perfect. And of course it's good to keep trying, keep getting better, obviously I'm not going to stop that, but still, it shouldn't be like, oh, I need to get better, I need to be better, I need to be perfect, basically, and keep always trying so hard to fix a problem or to fix myself or to fix the way I'm thinking, to always try so hard. Like, that can be so exhausting. And instead, stop trying so hard. Be with yourself, love yourself, do what's good for yourself. Do things that are helpful for you, instead of always feeling this pressure and putting this pressure on yourself. And then the second one is that if you're really stuck with something negative and you really feel like, I tried everything to get out of it and it still is there, or it really feels like a problem that you can't find an answer to, if it's something you've been stuck with for so long and you just can't seem to get out and you keep thinking about it and stuff like that, apparently what he said was then go and do something that's good for you. Like, go to your favorite coffee shop, grab a coffee. And then if the thought still comes back because, it's still not solved, then go and visit your friends. And if it still comes back, then after that, go sleep at your friend's house. If it still comes back, go for a hike. If it still is there and comes back, keep doing things. And honestly, I never thought that was good. I never thought that was the right way to do things, because I thought, but then you're just running away. Like, you're not actually solving the problem. Because you're not facing it. You're not finding a solution to it. You're just constantly running away and it's going to follow. But he said there are exceptions, basically, where, like, a lot of the time, you need to face the problem to solve it. Like, you need to actively do things to solve the problem. But in some senses, when you're like so stuck and it seems like it's consuming your life, it's consuming you and taking up all your attention, you need to actively do things. That's also actively trying to solve the problem, basically, because you're doing things that you enjoy, you're doing things you love. So you're showing your mind it doesn't need to be so negative, doesn't need to be so problematic, but I can love life, I can do things. And then while you're doing stuff, you're proving to yourself, I don't need to think so negatively, I don't need to brood so much. Like, the problem isn't actually that big of a problem, or the problem is a problem that can be solved, or it's something where I can still enjoy my life, I can still go and do things. So while you're doing things, you're basically, solving the problem in a certain way. Yeah, I never really allowed myself to do that, because I was like, no, because then I'm just running away and the problem will follow. But sometimes, really sometimes, and that's probably what I should have done in my depression, was instead of focusing on it so much and therefore letting it ruin your life more and more, I should have gone and done things that were good for me. I should have gotten out, because then I would have gained some sort of perspective. And even after you've done things, sometimes then you feel much more capable to face the problem, and then you can be like, let's actively try and solve this and not let it ruin my life anymore. Like, yeah, I guess in a lot of ways I should have probably done that, but I just never allowed myself to do so. I never thought it was the right thing to do. I always thought no, because then the problem is still going to be there. So, the good things aren't going to help. The problem is still real and things like that. But yeah, the problem is still real, but still go out and do something good for yourself. The problem is only a problem if you focus on it, if you think about it. That's when it's a problem. That's what I noticed as well this morning when I woke up. It was like, I'm feeling so dramatic, like everything feels so dramatic, and I'm like scared to become depressed, and I'm like looking out for the proof that I'm becoming depressed, for example, where instead I could be looking out for the proof that I'm just learning and I'm getting better, and there's ways that I can stop myself from becoming depressed, basically. And also I was obviously noticing I was filtering everything through a very dramatic lens, and how I was looking out for the proof that, like, yeah, Mario doesn't want to be friends with me anymore, looking out for the proof that I am becoming depressed. Like, I don't know, like when you're in that sort of state, you filter your reality through your beliefs. So if you believe you're not good enough, you're going to be pointing out all the proof that to you proves you're not good enough. You're going to be filtering everything in your day through the belief that you're not good enough. You're not going to focus on the things where you were good enough and where you were great and where you deserve to be praised and things like that. Like, if you have a belief, then you need to actively try to prove it wrong. Like, if you believe you're not good enough, you're gonna automatically focus on the things where you believe you're not good enough. And if you want to change that belief, then you need to actively point out the things where you were good enough, where you loved yourself, or where you can be really proud of yourself. And you need to point out how kind you are, how great you're doing, like things you enjoy, what you love about yourself. Ask yourself, am I really such a bad person? Like, you need to actively do things to change your beliefs. Otherwise, you're going to automatically filter everything through your beliefs. And that's what I have been doing the past few days as well, filtering through the beliefs that, like, everything's dramatic and negative in my life. Everything's just negative. So I filtered everything in a negative way. I looked at everything in a negative way, pointed out negatives, or more actually the dramatic stuff. Like, yeah, looked at everything in a dramatic way and things like that, and I pressurized myself and stuff and filtered everything through that. And instead I need to actively point out to myself the things that, you know, aren't actually that dramatic, things that are just life, and you move on. And next week, you know, you're not going to be thinking about this anymore, or in a year's time or in 10 years' time, this is not going to be in your mind anymore. So, like, I don't know, like, I need to actively do things. But yeah, and what I was actually trying to say the whole time was that this morning I then noticed I was only feeling like I have a problem or this is so dramatic because I was focusing on it, because I was thinking about it. Yesterday evening and then this morning, yeah, I was thinking more about the argument with me and Mario again, and I again felt so dramatic and stuff. And yeah, if I'm focused on the dramatic stuff, if I think about the dramatic stuff, then I'm going to feel that way too. And so then this morning I noticed, and I kind of decided, like, I'm not going to think about that anymore. I'm just not going to think about the argument anymore. And as soon as I decided that, I noticed how I felt fine. I literally felt fine because I didn't have a reason to feel bad anymore. I didn't give myself a reason. You know, in order to feel bad, you need to focus on something that makes you feel bad. So in order to feel better, you need to stop focusing on something that makes you feel bad, because there's literally no use. It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't solve your problems. Focusing on a problem does not solve your problems. It doesn't make you feel like you can solve your problems. It just makes you feel negative and shit. So yeah, like, there's no use whatsoever in focusing on the negatives. And so yeah, I kind of decided that this morning, and I immediately felt better. Then again, a couple of minutes later, I went back to kind of thinking about the argument again. But then when I noticed it, I was like, no, look, I don't need to focus on it. A part of me does feel like, yeah, but I need to focus on it because it is so dramatic, and it was, you know, quite dramatic, and I should focus on it or whatever. But why? Like, it's not going to solve, like, it already happened. So why would, no, like, there's no use. It's not going to help me in any sort of way to focus on that. Yeah, but then actually, Mario texted me. Wow, he texted me this morning, and he said, I had a dream where we fought. How nice, with like a smiling emoji. And in that moment, it's not the message that made me feel better. In that moment, I then thought, we're still friends. I then thought, okay, we can laugh about this. This is funny. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that dramatic. Like, it's all gonna be fine. In that moment, I started laughing. I was like, oh my God, yeah, he had a dream about us fighting. I then noticed, like, because he sent me that message, I was like, he obviously still wants to be friends with me, things like that. So I felt better because I then thought in a much better way. I thought in a much more relaxed way then. I was much more, you know, laughing about the situation instead of thinking about it in a really dramatic way. Yeah, it was really nice. Like, it was really nice just laughing about it. And yeah, it just showed me, like, you know, this is the best way to deal with drama. Just laugh about how ridiculous it is and how it absolutely did not need to play out that way, but it did, and we can live with that as well, and we can move on. And yeah, from my side, I definitely obviously still want to be friends with him. To me, it's like, yeah, arguments are arguments, and honestly, they usually strengthen relationships if they don't break them apart. And I was like, if something like this, like a small argument like this that wasn't even that serious, would break apart our relationship, our friendship, then it's not a real friendship. Like, to me, then it's like, then I don't even want that sort of friendship. If something like this really breaks it apart, then it's like, yeah, okay, then it can break apart, because that's not a sort of friendship I want. From my side, I didn't want to not be friends anymore. To me, it wasn't even a question. Like, to me, it's like, well, it's just an argument. Like, come on, we can move on. But I was wondering if that's the same for him, because I know it's unusual for him to argue with friends, or things like these. Things like this don't happen often, which I also felt like, okay, I deserve a trophy that I got to argue with him. But yeah, so that's why I was just wondering, like, does he still want to be friends, or does he really not like me now anymore? Is he thinking about it in a dramatic way, and things like that? So I was just a bit afraid that he was now just gonna kind of push me aside and not want me in his life anymore. But yeah, anyway, it's all just a learning, and it's all really not as dramatic as we like to make it out to be. So we're gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep trying to prevent myself from becoming depressed, but I'll keep you updated. I don't know. There is things I can definitely do to prevent myself from becoming depressed, but it's hard when I believe the negative stuff more than the positive things. It's hard to then keep focusing on the positives when I believe, but no, the negatives are way more real, or it is a real problem, or it is actually dramatic and stuff like that. I just need to find the proof for the opposite, that it's really not that dramatic, and it's really something I can move on from. Yeah, so anyway, that's the update. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and until the next time. It always makes sense why you feel bad. It's always because you're thinking in a bad way, in a negative way, either about yourself or your life or something in your life. So it's never like random, what you're feeling, or how you're perceiving your life, and it's you who can change that, because you are the one right now who's looking at it in a negative way. So you are the one who right now can look at it in a positive way. Yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Until the next time.